After last night, I am prepared to say it. The Victor Wembanyama era is officially upon us. It is his league's legs. I'm going to make that argument today as the Spurs look unbelievable in their blowout win over the Timberwolves. And of course, we have a 2-2 series the other way. Legs is on the call for that one. We're going to preview that game and talk about what's going on in that series on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, who is on location, ready for the best series going on right now, a 2-2 split between Detroit and the Cavs. Legs, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. I'm super excited about this game tonight. 2-2. Every home team has won. In fact, the Cavs, that's how it's been the entire postseason. 6 home wins, 5 road losses. Something's got to give for them. They're going to have to win a road game. Not like the last round when they didn't. They have to win a road game to win the series. They seem like they flipped it around, going home. They got some things unlocked offensively. So I'm really curious to see what the Pistons do tonight differently defensively to take care and handle Donovan Mitchell, who just absolutely destroyed them in Game 4.
Like, so much of our job is breaking down what happens and trying to predict what goes forward, and I like it. That series, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I actually could see both sides winning. I could see the game going any way, and I like that. That makes it exciting. A lot of these playoffs, somewhat predictable about, okay, who has momentum going into the next game, but that one I feel like is a true 3-game series, and I can't wait to break it down and get your thoughts on it. But we have to start with our FanDuel game breakdown. We just talk about the games here. We're always just talking about the games. Last night there was one, and it was the Spurs getting the win, 126-97. This was 2 blowouts in one game because they got off to a great start, or Victor Wembanyama got off to a great start, but it was the third quarter run that put this game away for the Timberwolves. And Legs, I'm just starting with my big take, and I teased it at the top of the show. Victor Wembanyama appears to be at a level right now already that just seems unsolvable because his defense has always been here. Not always, but it has been here. His impact, you can't score on him. Minnesota certainly can't score on him when he's on the floor. But you know what I didn't expect was that a great defense like Minnesota wouldn't be able to stop the Spurs and him. And it's not just him. The Spurs had get big contributions from a lot of guys. But right now, Victor Wembanyama is a two-way dominant force that is just wrecking these playoffs, and he certainly wrecked Game 5. That to me, that was a dominant performance by the Spurs, and it was a dominant performance by him.
I agree with all of that. I do wonder if you're jumping the gun a little bit, just a little bit, ordaining, and calling this league now the Victor Wembanyama era with exactly 1 playoff series win under his belt. I know what it projects out to be. I get it.
I get it too. I don't want to be this guy, Legs. I want to be nuanced, and I want to be here, but I'm not.
Well, look, man, I mean, some of the things you see out of him are so unique unto him that it kind of gets you excited, like to make statements like that and to think about what the next decade minimum of the league could look like with this guy. Now, at the same time that's going on, you've got this, incredibly impressive Oklahoma City Thunder team continuing to do their thing. So look, there's still work left to do in this series for San Antonio to win it, but that was a huge step. Getting that win guarantees you now you would get a Game 7 at home. As opposed to you lose, you could go on the road to get closed out. So that's what that meant. That second half surge, putting this game away, taking anxiety and tension out of late game situations out of the equation, with how dominant they were. He's so unique in the different things that he does. And honestly, Adam, I would say this, like just watching him, if he didn't have the team around him that he does with the guards that this team has, I probably wouldn't be close to going there yet. The fact that they've got this level of guard play with, De'Aaron Fox and his ability offensively with his quickness to just be everywhere that the defense isn't prepared for it to be, with the physicality of Stephon Castle and just the way he just overwhelms you. with his presence. And then what the future superstar that Dylan Harper represents, because I don't think there's any question that's what he's going to be if he stays healthy. He's going to be a superstar in this league. He's going to be a guy that's going to be the best player at some point down the road, the best player on contending teams. I really believe that about Dylan Harper. So when you look at that collection of guards that they have, and then a bunch of great role players too, it's the totality of it, I think, is what has you so excited, because then not only do they have a well-rounded team, depth, they check every box, every position, everything you need to do. Then on top of it, oh yeah, and by the way, they have the only guy in the league that looks like that on both ends of the floor, but particularly defensively, and the nightmares that he has caused, in this series for what Minnesota needs to do to win the series. So I hear what you're saying. I tend to not get too far out over my skis until a team has proven a little bit more than winning a series and being up 3-2 in the second round of another series.
Yeah.
I go a little bit slower.
And you should. And to be fair, I think all these things are fair as well. Like, they got to do something, and they haven't really done anything yet. I'm more just projecting forward what I think is about to happen. And that's really what I'm talking about here, because this roster is, and I didn't see it right away. There's some good young players. They got to grow into their own, but they really fit. This is the thing about the young players on the Spurs, and perhaps this too is a credit to Wemby, that I think a lot of players would fit with him. But when you look at the direction the league is going, like if the big winners of this playoffs have been on-ball pressure, do you have guys that can pressure the ball and really hound the ball to disrupt the defense? They've got so many of those guys that are as good as anyone in the league at it. Do you have ball handling that can handle that type of pressure? We just watched Minnesota last round completely disrupt Denver's rhythm on offense with their on-ball pressure. Well, what did we see last night from Dylan Harper? Behind the back to the right, behind the back to the left, stutter step, get into the paint and dunk. They are unbothered by Minnesota's ball pressure. And then can you guard? Can you shut a team down? And as long as Wemby is on the court, the answer is yes, you can shut him down. I want to get specific about his defense here, because we think of it, he's got all this rim protection. He is also a system creator. They are able to trap. I mean, against Minnesota, you have to trap Anthony Edwards and force Minnesota to get ball movement and win another way. You can trap without penalty when Wemby's on the floor, because your backside rotations are so easy when they're not going into the paint to score. If we get beat and somebody attacks, Wemby is right there in full help side at all times. And that allows their demon on-ball defenders to just run around and fly and be super aggressive on ball, knowing that they have the world's greatest safety net, perhaps of all time.
Completely changes everything. I was on teams that had high-level rim protection. I was on teams that didn't have any. It's amazing how different you approach how you're playing defense on the perimeter. You change really everything about every detail of defense, like the number of screens you can fight over as opposed to going under.
Yep.
The amount of pressure you can give on the wing denying a first pass. When you've got something like that behind you, then you can do that. And now all of a sudden the first catch for a team offensively is 35 feet from the basket, as opposed to we don't have rim protection on a particular team. Okay, well then I can't be overplaying that first pass to the wing, because if I miss, that's going to be a straight line dribble drive at the rim, and we're going to get broken down. So now I have to be a little more cautious when I deny out to the wing. So now guess what? The guy catches the ball 24 feet, 25 feet. And you know what that means? That means all of the timing of the set is perfect. And now it's very difficult to defend it. Whenever you try to run anything that involves screening, cutting, off-ball movement in the NBA, it's all predicated on where the ball goes first. And if it's further out on the floor than you want it to be on the first catch or the first initiation, I got news for you. Everything about that particular action is going to be much more difficult to execute.
Yep.
And that's what you're talking about. And that's what Victor Wembanyama does. And then even on the plays where you make mistakes and they make their share too, like everybody else, he is the great eraser of mistakes, because he can get from point A to point B and cover more ground on the back line than any player in the league, and more than just about any player that's ever lived, really, if you look at his stride and the amount of ground he covers. So that's what he represents defensively. It's the greatest challenge when you play the Spurs. They're a very, very good offensive team. for all the reasons we described. But at least, you've got a chance to guard them. Offensively, like that's where coaches, I think, probably really struggle and lose sleep when they're playing this team, because there are certain things you want to be able to do in the paint that's more efficient for your team that you just can't get to. They're not going to be clean looks, clean shots. The space isn't there. Guys, mentally, it affects them. So, and so that to me is the big challenge. How do you overcome that, what he represents defensively? And by the way, if the guy won the defensive player of the year in a unanimous vote at 22, is he going to win the next 10?
Where's it headed? I mean,
is he going to win 10? Seriously.
Here's the thing, like no one else can affect the game the way he does. This is why, like when we're projecting forward, I know there's a little bit putting the cart before the horse or whatever, but to your point, he's already doing this and it's not going away. It's not like, the speed is unbelievable, this or that. It's like, you can't do anything when he's on the court. He shuts everything down. And what you're hitting on here, George Karl told me something that has always stuck with me. I used to do a show with him and it always stuck with me. He said, there's nothing scarier as a coach in the playoffs than when your team can't score. That's the scariest thing, because everything's downstream of it, your team's confidence and energy. And if you can't score against the defense, it just throws everything off. The Wolves can't score. They cannot score when he's on the floor. And especially in the half court, they have to get transitions. But this is how the Wolves, they really are a team that goes on big runs. Either they are scoring on big runs or they're giving up big runs. We're seeing that all throughout this playoffs. We've seen it for years. If they can't score in the half court, San Antonio gets to play in transition. They score. They set up their half court defense. Minnesota has to come down and try to grind out an almost impossible half court offense. If they don't score, Spurs get it, go in transition. And it just compounds. And that's what's going on in this series. The Wolves cannot score when he's on the court, and I don't even see a solution for it.
Well, I mean, look, they don't have a chance in this series if you're getting this out of Julius Randle, and it's a big part of it. There are certain spots on the floor he wants to get to.
Yep.
And even if he's not being directly guarded by Victor Wembanyama, he's always hovering and lurking. And the spots on the floor he wants to get to and operate, that's the part, even shooting over the direct defender that's on him, what he is seeing visually and what's back there is affecting his ability to get to those spots, concentrate through that, and play his normal game. And it's not a coincidence. I mean, it's 4 straight games now. 12, 12, 12, and 17. He's shooting 36% in the series. And he's averaging 0.8 points per touch. This is a guy that is, right there, like borderline all-star caliber player. And this is like your second leading scorer. And man, it's dried up to that extent. How are you supposed to overcome that? Anthony Edwards has to go for 35, 40 every game and be efficient in doing it.
Yes.
By the way, they've got great perimeter defenders on this team too.
Right.
So it's and so he's going to have to work so hard. He's not 100%. He got them a win in Game 4. Basically, it's just too much to ask. So, and look, by the way, we're not. I see people commenting on Victor Wembanyama, like I guess that are detractors of about his offensive game. Yeah, there's no question. He's not like he's this unstoppable offensive force.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be on this team. Yeah, that's the point. He is certainly good enough offensively, and at times can be great especially if he starts making his jump shot, because you can't contest the jump shot.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole nother level with him offensively. But yes, you can knock him off his spot still. He can still take off-balance shots going to the rim. Not nearly as many as he did a couple years ago, but so that's an improvement. He's getting better offensively. There's still something when you're 7'5" and guys are basically their head is in your chest. Like, and that's where all of their strength is on your lower body, and you weigh what he weighs. It's going to be a challenge to be dominant offensively every night. The combination of the two, though, what he can do offensively some nights with the defense he brings every night, and then the team around him, that's what we're talking about. Like, what could be in front of this team? Again, I think, look, if they win this series and Oklahoma City's sitting there waiting on them, I think you're going to have a much greater context for Victor right now, where he is, and their team as it stacks up to a team that good defensively with an offensive machine that special that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander represents. That is the series that everybody's been waiting for all year. San Antonio's not there yet. Minnesota's not going to make it easy going home for Game 6. But if you get that, Adam, I think that's going to really give a lot of clarity to exactly what you started the show with and that statement about where they are right now. Now, you're projecting out the future. I'm curious to see where they are right now relative to the best team in the NBA, which is still the Thunder.
That's kind of how it feels. Is like, I'm not sure if the Spurs are there yet, but I know they're going there. And that's kind of the thing. And real quick, some numbers from you here from all NBA stats and research. When Wemby's on the floor, the Wolves' average shot distance is 15 feet, and they have a 45% effective field goal percentage. That's a weighted field goal percentage, 45%, horrible. When he's off the floor, their distance is 11 feet, so 4 feet closer and 50.5. Even that's not a great number, but it still just shows you that when Wemby's on the floor, they can't get anything close to efficient enough offense, and this has been now, we're 5 games into it. This is a good sample size. Let's move on to another guy, though. My favorite Spur, Dylan Harper. He is one of the main characters of this playoffs for me personally. Like you're talking about the guys who have been the big stories or have been the most entertaining to watch. Dylan Harper is showing us where he is headed because on-ball defense, absolute demon, just has an unbelievable ability to disrupt and put pressure on and rotate and do different things. But offensively is where he's really shining. Legs, he has the two things that I think are becoming most valuable in the NBA, and that is on-ball defense, which I just mentioned, but the ability to get to the paint. He just has a knack for it. He is quick. He is strong. He has a really good balance. Him and Steph Castle both have this where they have like a low center of gravity. So when they're turning the corner and you're trying to bump them off their spot or whatever, they just don't fall over or get pushed off. They have great balance. But his ability to get to the paint, you don't have to run complex offense if if the ball can get to the paint and collapse the defense. You've already done something to gain an advantage. And he seems to be able to get there whenever he wants against great perimeter defenders. Minnesota has great perimeter defenders that it feels like he doesn't even see him.
This is one of the strongest rookie guards that's ever come into this league, and that's kind of his superpower right now. And it's look, you might be able to get other guys that have come into the league, and you want to start naming names that you go and lay down on the bench and you want to do bench press. Yeah, okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about functional strength. His forearms, the way that, and you can see it on replays a lot better sometimes even than live. Because live, he'll make a play, get downhill, make a shot, whatever. And then they'll show the replay, a slow motion, different angle replay, and you'll see the raking that he'll get like on his upper arm, on his forearm. And it's not even like he feels it at all. The ball doesn't move.
Yep.
His base is so strong. His hips, his torso, like the way that he plays through contact and guys like riding his hip to the rim and he's totally unaffected by it. It's kind of like amazing to watch. Like, a guy that's 20 years old, had 1 year of college under his belt, to come in this physically ready to dominate against elite defenses. It's incredible. And like his shooting, sometimes you think, well, yeah, shooting's got to catch up. He doesn't take a lot of threes, but he's still shooting 38% from the three in the playoffs. Like if he shot that for his entire career, that would be phenomenal for a guy that plays the way he plays. But it's like his ability to get to his spot at the rim. That's what separates him right now from most rookie guards that have ever come into this league. He's 54% from the field in the playoffs in his first time through it. I mean, that's not supposed to happen. So I agree with you. He can put together special combinations with his dribble to shake guys that are really quick elite defenders. Because sometimes it's not just, let me go downhill to my left hand, and that's how I'm going to go. That's not enough in the NBA to do that. You have to be able to get guys off balance that are really quick in front of you, that are great defenders. And he has these combination dribbles he can hit you with to get you rocking one way or the other. And then he's gone with his first step, going by you and then, putting pressure on the rim. So it's incredible to think. It really is, man, that a team that got Victor Wembanyama, in the draft, also ended up with Dylan Harper. And look, that's not to say I would say go back and say, I would have taken him over Cooper Flagg. No, I'm not saying that at all. Cooper Flagg's also a generational talent. I think he's going to be a franchise player for sure. But the fact that you could also get one with the second pick, a guy like this, is incredible when you already were lucky enough to get Victor Wembanyama. And by the way, let's not forget about Stephon Castle.
Yeah, I was going to say they have another guy here that you could just throw into this mix.
Let's not forget him, rookie of the year, and much better player than he was even a year ago, and what he brings to the table. It's really just this wealth of riches that the San Antonio Spurs have now. 3 guys this young, and what they're going to do to this league eventually. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. They got a big challenge. A couple of them really. First, just get through this series, and then Oklahoma City, man, rested and waiting. And when they've been rested and waiting at the start of series, I don't even want to know what the point differential is when they've had a few days off waiting on their next opponent at home in the playoffs in the Shea era.
And Minnesota in particular is running into this challenge that the pieces fit together. So you have these guys that can get into the paint. Fox, turn the corner. You run pick and roll and you don't switch, he can turn the corner and get downhill into the paint. Same goes for Steph Castle, who has a different way of doing it, but it's very similar in that he can turn the corner. Fox will beat you with a full step if he turns the corner. Castle only has to beat you with a half step, and then he's just got a big body, and he knows exactly how to put his hip into you and hold you off and get to the paint. You could say the same thing for Dylan Harper. So you can run pick and roll with those guys, and you can't switch Gobert off of Wemby. Like, they're trying to keep that. So you can constantly get downhill, and if you do have to try to show and recover, you can get it to Wemby, or you could throw the skip pass. They just have the perfect combination of offense around that so that Minnesota, with this great defense, is constantly in a bad spot. Fox, Castle, Wemby, Harper, and then you get the role players around them. I didn't realize, and I don't know how you feel, I wasn't sure about the Spurs. Like, I was sure about Wemby, but I wasn't sure about the Spurs' roster construction. Like, it's good players. We'll see how it comes together. Now I see that it was a very intentional vision, and you go, man, all of these guys can guard. They can get into the paint, and then Wemby has the gravity. That I actually think it's incredibly smart roster construction what they've done.
No, it definitely is. And I want to give a lot of credit to Mitch Johnson because they made the right hire there too. Like, that's another thing that they got right. And it's not just because they're winning games and they have Victor Wembanyama. Trust me, if you spent 15 minutes sitting down and talking with Mitch Johnson, you understand, like, the guy that's in front of you is incredibly insightful. He's so prepared. He's got great communication skills. I think he's just got great perspective on the marathon that is an NBA season, how they approach it, and like his goals throughout the year. He's just got great feel. Those guys love him. He's the perfect coach to coach this young team. Because sometimes you'll hire a guy that's got to coach a real young team specifically because he's young and got a certain personality. That's not enough. And sometimes the older veteran grizzled coach isn't the right guy for this particular group. He's like the perfect combination of both. He's got the youth, he's got the charisma with his guys, but he's also got this like sort of steely toughness about him that he can challenge guys and they want to be challenged. And that's the best part of it, because this reminds me a lot of what the Spurs did before with Duncan Parker, Ginobili. They were great players that wanted to be challenged by Greg Popovich. They didn't mind it. They didn't have egos. They didn't, pout or sulk or become narcissistic. And they've got another group just like those guys, because that's exactly what I just described. Wembanyama, Castle, Harper, all these guys. And now you've got the perfect guy to coach them as well. So they got it going on. They had a great performance last night. That's a dicey situation, man. When you're 2-2 at home, and the Pistons are going to get that tonight, the game we're calling, right? That's a very tenuous, stressful situation. Yeah. Because if you don't play well or you get yourself into a tight game late, the thought of, damn, like we could go on the road with the prospect of being closed out if we don't get this game at home. So that's what the Pistons face tonight. That's what San Antonio faced last night. And man, did they really answer the call in the second half of that game.
Well, on that point, let's make the case for Minnesota now in Game 6, because I happen to think Minnesota only needs to win one game. Because a 7-game series, if you go to a Game 7, it really becomes a chaos game. Do shots not fall? Do guys get nervous? The Spurs have been so mature and poised, but in a Game 7, even veteran teams can falter. So I really do feel like Minnesota just needs one. And here's a couple things that need to happen. First of all, credit San Antonio, because they were so mature, and Victor Wembanyama in particular, bouncing back from a game he got thrown out where the physicality was a storyline. Vic comes out and sets the tone right away with his hot shooting, and it's like, okay, everybody settle down. But then as the game tried to get a little ugly, you could see the moments where Vic was like, okay, I know what they're doing, and I'm not going to fall for it. Just stay focused. And it almost like It's like a bully punches you and you don't flinch, or fakes a punch at you and you don't flinch. It's like their power is gone. I kind of felt like that happened with Minnesota. Minnesota looked like, why aren't they afraid of us when we're roughing them up? And so first thing is they have to rediscover their edge and have to find a way to rattle them in this game. But the bigger thing is they have to find a way to play in transition, which means they have to get stops, because I just don't think they can score in the half court. Can they turn this into a bit of a track meet and get a run? Minnesota's scary when they go on big runs. I think they need a big run early on in this game, because I just don't believe they can win a grinded out half court game.
You know, in some ways, you talk about what happened to him in game 4 in that ejection. You could see last night his demeanor with any of the stuff that was going on when he was being hit, bumped, roughed up a little bit. They were definitely trying to get physical with him, which is, by the way, it's nothing, that they were doing dirty, or nothing that every team shouldn't try to do with him. That is going to be the formula for him. That, because you cannot play him like in some sort of a finesse way. You have to be able to try to physically get into him, to manipulate where he can move. That's the best way to play Victor Wembanyama. But I thought his response, he was smiling. And it was almost like, he was very aware. So that happening to him in game 4, you could survive it maybe if they go on to win this series. That could have happened in a game 6. That could happen in a game 7 if that's the first time he lost his cool. So in some ways, like, the lesson he's going to learn from it, and how it is imperative that he maintains his cool. And look, every team has other guys on their roster that can be enforcer types. They can go and they can roll the sleeves up and get a little bit dirty. Victor Wembanyama can't get caught up in that. What you're hoping is that your coach, your teammates, the officials, like, there are guys here to protect you if it gets out of hand. And he realized, he learned a big lesson the other night, and what that cost his team and what he means if he's not out there. And I just thought it was clear that, he was taking some contact last night, and his approach was different because he learned a lesson in the middle of the series when there's still time to recover from it, when it didn't cost your team a series because you weren't available to them because of the timing of the ejection.
I think you need a big run. You need some transition. I think you need a masterpiece from Anthony Edwards, and he's capable of this. I mean, he is capable of putting them on his back and having like a 40-point game where he just hits a bunch of tough shots. You're not getting the easy ones. So you're going to need Anthony Edwards to make a bunch of tough ones and get you something in transition as a team. And then the last part here, Legs, I don't think they can stop San Antonio in the paint. Like, I don't know if they could shut it down. And San Antonio can beat you from the three-point line. But I think on the road, that's your formula, is we have to try to get a lead, and then we have to force the kickouts. Take the paint away, and let's see if their guys down 10 on the road make shots from the three-point line. If not, you can steal game 6 and push a game 7. Well, all of a sudden, shooting variance might become the only thing that matters. So I think if I were the Wolves going into game 6 at home, I would say if we lose because they made 23, so be it. But that's what they're going to have to do in this game, because we are not letting them keep getting into the paint and scoring on us the way they did in game 5.
I agree with that. I think you're going to have to dare their collection of guards. And even Wemby.
Yep.
See if those guys can make enough threes with a hand up or reasonable closeout distance. And then, you know what? You tip your hat to them and you go, that's the better team. And most people view them as a better team anyway. It's a 60-plus win team. Yep. They're a 2 seed for a reason. So, but you have to, you can't let a team get by you and advance to the next series without forcing them into the lower percentage shots for their team. And that's what it's going to come down to for Minnesota. And like I said, they can't win this series unless they get a lot more out of Julius Randle. It's that simple, because physically he can do things against a physical defense because of the way he's built. Like he can do things, but he can't if he's consistently trying to force the issue in spots that aren't low percentage shots. So I don't know necessarily what the answer is for him, but if he doesn't come out and maybe make a few like mid-range jumpers or a couple of threes early, which because he is capable, it can change his night. He can do that. But now you're talking 36% for a series out of your second best player. Very difficult for any team to survive that.
And I think you just said it, though. He has to make shots that we're not necessarily counting on him to make. You know, if you think about Julius Randle, he's going to bully you and get into the paint, get to the rim, almost Zebo-like, where he gets you just off balance enough and then finishes around you because he was able to use leverage. But Wemby's too tall. Like, you're talking about trapping Ant, swinging the ball. Julius Randle's getting downhill at the basket. You're getting downhill at a guy that can block your shot with his elbow. I just don't see it from Julius Randle. I mean, I agree with you that he's part of what makes the Timberwolves dynamic, but he is erased in this series, and I actually think he might just be erased short of hitting jump shots, which is not the reason you would count. No Wolves fan would say, we have Julius Randle for his jump shot making. That's what he's going to give us. But it might be the only way he can contribute. At least that's how I feel. This Spurs team, I can't believe I believe in them this much, but they're young guards. Wemby, I thought would be this guy. I wanted to see him get tested if a team could scheme him out. But the young Spurs guards, it's like, do they need one more year of seasoning, one more playoffs where it's a little up and down? And right now, it's not up and down. Those guys look like they are ready for it, and they're growing before our eyes. The last question I'll have for you is on this point. I've always believed that players grow more in the playoffs, especially if they make a deep run, let's say the second, third, or fourth round. Young guys will get more experience in those couple of weeks than they will in an entire season because the game is so intense, it's so fast-paced and everything else that it's like exercising with weights on. And I think Dylan Harper, Steph Castle, all these guys, these reps, you can see them getting better as it goes. Like, they're getting more comfortable, and I just think they're growing through this playoff run because there's no other environment like playoff basketball.
There's no doubt. And we don't know when this is going to end for the San Antonio Spurs this season. Could be this series. If Minnesota wins 2 straight games, maybe it's next round, maybe it's in the finals, maybe they win it all. We don't know when it's going to end. But if it ends short of their goal, there's no doubt going into next season, like what this has provided them.
Yeah.
And look, when you're 20, 21, 22 years old, like your growth over the first 3, 4, 5 years of your career is so exponential that if they're this good now, it is kind of like incredible to think, where will this group be, particularly with their 3 young stars 3, 4 years from now?
Yeah.
It's really incredible if they're this poised and this good and this dynamic this early in their career. So, well, let's see. And now they're going to have to go in a very hostile environment on the road and see if they can close it out. Because you're right. Listen, and you've seen it, firsthand what Minnesota can do in a Game 7 on the road.
Yeah.
All right. Because what happens is, as long as you don't get hit with that blitz in the first half of a Game 7 where you're down 18, down 20, now it's just basically a matter of the clock running out. If you don't get hit with that and you can just force a team, that last mandatory under 7-minute timeout in the fourth quarter, and you can reach out and touch the other team like that, they're going to start feeling the pressure at home to make important shots. That's going to be unlike any pressure they've ever experienced. So if you could just get them to that point, you've got a chance. But first, you got to get through Game 6.
You got to get through it, man. We'll watch it tomorrow night. Should be interesting. We'll be breaking it down. But let's take a break because tonight, Legs is going to be on the call for Cavs Pistons. And unlike this San Antonio series where I feel like I know where it's headed, this is one I have no idea where it's headed. So I want to hear what Legs thinks about what he expects tonight in Game 5 on the other side. In the All-NBA show, Kalshi. The playoffs are underway, and it's the most electric time in basketball. On Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. You can also do the NBA draft, which is really exciting. Right now, the Spurs are trading at 19% probability to win it all, meaning a $100 trade will pay you what actually, I don't have it right in front of me. But they're right now, I would say it was 19% yesterday, it's 21% today. I'm tracking this because I think the Spurs are winning it this year. And so what's nice about on Kalshi is you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, more like buying a stock than anything. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code ALLNBA, all one word, to get $10 when you trade 10, Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. I also want to tell you guys about Marsmen. So you know what it's like. You get to your mid-30s. Suddenly, everything that used to be easy wasn't. You feel like you're running into a brick wall. You're doing the same workouts, same diets, but it's not having the same effect. This is the case, man. I know like 10 years ago, I could diet for 3 days and lose 10, 15 pounds and be feeling great. Not the case anymore. Most men start losing testosterone around age 30, about 1% every year after that. But with Mars Men, it supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients. I don't even know if I can pronounce all these. Tongat Ali, Shilajit, vitamin D, zinc, boron, and more. Made in the U.S. and third-party tested. 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it and you get your money back. But over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling the incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website to see for yourself. For a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. And it's also available on Amazon. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show and let them know the All-NBA show sent you. Back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. I'm with Tim Legler. Let's move our attention now. We'll start, though, by talking about Game 4. And really, we haven't talked legs since Game 2, I don't think, where the Pistons were up in the series and in control. So it shifts back to Cleveland. And I would say that the Cavs have been fully in control since. In this game, they had a 24-0 run in the third quarter, 24-0. That put this game away. But it really is. Here's what's so crazy. This series, legs, everything we said after Game 2 was true then. And it's now opposite is true now. We talked about Cade being calm under pressure. That hasn't been the case. He's had a lot of turnovers lately and looks disrupted. We'll talk about that. Harden, all-time stinker in Game 2. We're talking about, oh my God, here it goes again. He has too many of these. He's been fantastic since. It's like he's figured out what he needs to do to be successful in this one. And then, of course, Donovan Mitchell, 43 points. So how did it flip, legs? How did this series complete opposite of what it did when it was in Detroit?
Well, I think it's both teams contributing to it. Cleveland finally got their offense unlocked, and you got to start with the guards. And look, James Harden is, and justifiably so, when he's been criticized throughout his career for, having some games in the postseason where he came up short and his team needed him to be a lot better. He's worn that. He's taken a lot of criticism over the course of his career for that. So then you have to pat this guy in the back when he's answered. And he did. And for me, it was Game 3. Like he had critical baskets for them, because it's not just about low, assists or putting pressure on the defense. No, sometimes for certain guys, it means putting the ball in the basket for your team when it really matters, because that's who you've been your entire career. He's one of the greatest scorers in the history of this league. And he needed to score in Game 3 late for that team to win that game, and he was able to do it. He fouled it up. He didn't shoot great in Game 4, 5 for 14, but he got to the line 9 times without a miss. He had 11 assists.
11 assists.
He was a major factor in the game with his control. His turnovers were down, and that's been a major problem for him in the postseason. He only had 2 turnovers. Like that's a star guard stat line. 24, 11, 2 turnovers, 9 for 9 from the line. Like that's getting it done. But then obviously the story was Mitchell and what he did. So, and he hasn't been nearly as good in this series early as he was in the previous series against Toronto. So he has now gotten unleashed. Now, so that's one end of the court. Like they're obviously now feel a lot better about themselves as they go to Detroit for Game 5. The Pistons, I felt like, and JB Bickerstaff alluded to it, they made a lot of mistakes defensively. Now, he started off talking about the officiating. We'll get it out in a second. But then he started to talk about his own team, which to me is really where this lies. I saw them make more mistakes on rotations, on who's the guy to close out on the next pass, like 2 guys running at the ball, on making mistakes, communicating in transition. Asar Thompson getting almost looked a little bit like he was in a fog or not fully dialed in and concentrated to the point where he drew so much ire from his head coach, he took him out of the game.
Yeah.
Asar Thompson, first team all defensive player, and you got this guy going off for the other team, and you took him off the floor because he had 4 turnovers and he lost contact with Donovan Mitchell multiple times during that stretch he had in the third quarter. Where he went with Karis LeVert, and it actually ended up being a great call because Karis LeVert got him back in the game. But so their defense was uncharacteristic in their number of mistakes that they made. and you had Harden and Mitchell answer the call. You add those two things up, here we go. Cavs now with the momentum back in the series, but here's the thing. Neither team has won on the road.
Yep.
So, and the Cavs haven't won on the road in the playoffs. Okay, so listen, something's got to give for that, for them to win the series, whether it's tonight
I didn't realize this.
Back on the road in Game 7, and you got to win a game on the road to get through this round. They've been a different team. The numbers dramatically different on the road. So let's see what they're going to look like tonight in Game 5. That's what everybody's really curious about. Can they maintain the momentum, or does it look like it did in the first two games?
Well, here's why the Cavs, I feel good about the Cavs right now, but you could argue good about the Pistons' chances to disrupt, is I think James Harden has a little bit of like Peyton Manning in him, in that when he can see what's going on, when he's reading it, then he can pick it apart. And I think that's what's going on in this series right now, is that he is reading when he gets the ISO matchups against Duncan Robinson or Tobias Harris. He knows exactly how to attack those, and he's getting the ball where it has to go or getting his own shot off. And if you're going in the pick and roll, can he find where the angles are for the pocket pass and the rhythm to it? Right now, he is finding those things, and so he is setting the table and getting the ball. Donovan Mitchell looks really quick right now, and he's, to your point, even their best defenders, he's able to like cross them over and get around them. So they have kind of solved this problem at the moment, but the Pistons can be a lot better on it. The problem is on the other end, the Pistons, the reason I'm concerned about Game 5 for Detroit, there is something to when one player legs that's a floor spacer or just an off-ball player, when one player loses confidence, it has ripple effects for the entire spacing, because that player might not slide over into open space as emphatically because they don't want the ball. They might not cut hard to the basket as hard as they need to drag defenders because they don't want the ball. Like, if you pass me the ball on the cut, am I going to finish this one? Right now, Asar Thompson looks like he does not want the ball, and as a result, you just have bad spacing. And so I think that there might be an issue right now with the Pistons' belief in their process, and they have to space the ball, and the ball has to find guys in the right spots, and those guys have to have the confidence to shoot. But Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren right now look like two guys that are going to disrupt your spacing because they just have lost so much offensive confidence.
Well, what you're describing, and I've said this for my entire broadcasting career, because you'll see it sometimes, guys can be guarded when they want to be.
Yep. Yeah,
like you can be guarded when you want to be guarded.
Yep.
And you'll see, and you'll see it sometimes in a game. You can be watching on TV or whatever, and like there's a press, like some team's losing a lead, and then the other team's pressing, and they've got a couple turnovers in the backcourt, and all of a sudden, that guard doesn't quite break as hard to get open on the first pass, right? So they don't want to receive that trap. So right now. Yeah, listen, Asar Thompson's offense obviously comes and goes, but the one thing he's always been able to do, actually been amazing in this way. For a guy that really doesn't even look at the rim from the three-point line unless he has to shoot it because he's got 20 feet of space and maybe even the clock has to be running out, he barely takes it. For a guy that's that limited offensively, to still impact the game the way he does, offensively, rebounding, assists, blocks, steals, like guarding the best player, every night he's got his fingerprints all over it. You haven't felt it as much. So is it at the point where like now the other end starting to get affected a little bit too, because he's being basically disregarded by the Cavs and he's having a harder time because there's a lot of length on the back line for the Cavs. He's having a harder time finding those slashes and cuts and offensive rebound putbacks where now, even though he doesn't shoot, he still feels good about his contribution offensively, and therefore he's locked in defensively. Well, now the offense is a little bit harder to come by, and those opportunities aren't quite there. So now it's like, is he now starting to overthink it a little bit to where his defense is affected? Let's see. He's a very young player, and you never know when a guy could go through something like this, and what's his impact going to be going forward. For Duren, to me, this is one of the great mysteries I've seen in a long time, and here's why. It's not like all of a sudden Jalen Duren like became some incredible offensive force, right? But here's what did happen this year. He added the short roll, catch the short roll, and have another way to finish a shot other than pound it, drop step, go up.
Right.
He had the ability to catch it on the move, like one long stride, lay it in. So it wasn't anything crazy. He didn't add handle. He didn't add a three-point shot. He still played the same way he played, but all of a sudden he was touching the ball so much more and finishing it so much more. Okay? It's almost like you don't see big guys drop off offensively the way that he has in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You could see a guard because they take tough shots, pull-up dribbles, contested mid-range. They take threes. So all of a sudden, a guy shoots 32%, and it's like a dramatic drop. Well, that happens all the time with guards and wings. Not really with bigs because they touch the ball in the same place all the time. So give Cavs defense credit. Their short roll has not been as available, but I also think he's not quite as purposeful on those dives. He's not quite as anxious to get down there and displace people, catch it, and power through. His field goal attempts are down 40%. He had 60% of his games this year. He had double-doubles. He's had 2 in 11 games in the postseason. So his rebounding is now affected as well. His field goal percentage. This guy shot almost 70% from the field this season. He's 44%.
It's in his head, too. You can just tell it's in his head.
There's no question. And look, here, Adam, here's what's happening. He's not the most explosive guy off the floor, okay? So when that's happening, you got Mobley and Allen, and they're long. It's almost like now his feet are like twisted up during. He's not on balance. He's like leaning back. He barely gets off the ground, and they block it, or he misses a layup. It's just been an absolute just slog for him offensively. Can Detroit win the series if this continues? Yes, I think they can. Will they be able to beat in the next round a team that's playing as well as the Knicks? No. So this is something for Jalen Duren that to me has been really amazing to watch because of how well he played this year. And now for his offense to drive to this extent, and now his rebounding's affected too, it's really been incredible. And I don't know that it's going to necessarily turn around the last 2 games. I'll give him credit for this. Showed up in a big way in Game 7 against Orlando. 15 and 15 in that game. He was a force in the game. You noticed him the whole game. So he's capable. He can have another one of those games in these last 2 to help them close the series out. But this drop-off has been really dramatic that you don't normally see for a big guy that shoots the ball within 8 feet of the basket all the time. To have it dry up to this extent, it's very rare for an all-star caliber player that scores within 10 feet of the basket.
And to your point that you were talking about earlier, you can be open if you want to be open. Do you remember the play where Cade hits him on the roll, like on the short roll, and he wasn't even looking at the ball, and then ball bounces out of bounds? And it's like those are the types of plays we're talking about. Is there's something about if you want the ball, you create the gravity. And I'll tell you what, Cade right now is he's flustered. And it's weird because after Game 2, we were talking about, my God, this guy, the calm he brings to the team and everything else. And I don't even think it's his fault. I think he's sensing that the windows are closing because guys don't want the ball and they're not in the right spots and the spacing is bad. But even he looks disrupted right now. And some of this you credit Dean Wade and Max Strus and some of the guys that are on ball against him, just getting into him. They caused an 8-second violation on him. Like they've done some things to disrupt him. But I think more than anything, he's looking around and seeing guys like if I drop it to Duren, he's not looking. Asar Thompson's not cutting. He's not in the right spot. That team needs a giant injection of confidence ASAP if they're going to win this Game 5 tonight, and it should be a great one. You're on the call for it. We'll be looking forward to it. Let's take a quick break, though, Legs, because on the other side, I want to do a quick hitter on the Thunder. We haven't talked since they've wrapped up their series against the Lakers, and they did it in a close game for once. We'll talk about that very quickly on the other side. Oh, new FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into $250 in bonus bets just for getting started. And when every possession matters in the playoffs, FanDuel makes it easier to get closer to the action. From player props on your favorite stars to all the tools you need to back them up, FanDuel puts player research right at your fingertips so you can check stats, trends, and matchups all in one place and make your picks with confidence. It's everything you need all in one app, so don't miss your shot. Head to FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Back here, final segment of the All-NBA show. I want to remind everybody, Will Gottlieb from CHGO, also from All City, he's been doing these great draft videos on our page right now. So Cam Boozer's up, AJ DeBance's up, dropping in 10 minutes. My favorite prospect in the draft, Darren Peterson. These are nice 5-minute scouting reports. You don't have to do 20, 30 minutes on every player. We are doing 5 minutes. Just get to know strengths, weaknesses, get a general feel for the players, pick which guys you like the most. They're really, really good, and you're not going to miss them. Do us a favor. Right after the show, head on over and check out the latest ones, AJ DeBanca, Cam Boozer, and Darren Peterson. All right, Legs, let's get back into this now and talk about the Thunder. I said that you have to play perfect basketball. The Lakers were going to have to play perfect basketball to beat the Thunder. And if you have just 1 or 2 minutes where you mess up, the Thunder go on a run. I was wrong. I think the Lakers played 48 minutes of A-plus basketball in this one and still lost. And I mean that. Like, I was very impressed with what the Lakers did in Game 4. We saw the Sixers more or less lay down when they were down 3-0. The Lakers fought and scrapped, and it still didn't matter. The Thunder were able to pull this one out. How'd they do it, and what do you think of the Thunder afterwards?
I mean, you think about it, the Lakers got really strong games from Austin Reeves, Rui, and LeBron. Like, all three of those guys played about as well as they could play against this defense, and it still wasn't enough. I just think the depth of Oklahoma City always stands out. You know, Shea is a machine. He gets to his number most of the time pretty damn efficiently, because you tackle on the free throws. But even the free throws aside, I mean, this guy typically shoots over 50% from the field. So he gets to his spots. He just does not miss shots in his wheelhouse. And it's really incredibly demoralizing defensively, because they look like tough shots, but they're not for him, because it's what he wants. And then when you do come up with a game plan designed to make him give it up, and he gives it up, they have the ability. They didn't shoot great from the three the other night, but they have the ability to do that some nights. And that's when you're really frustrated, because you're funneling the ball out of Shea's hands, and then they still move it and beat you with a three, or they beat you with a drive or a cut. They're just that good. And all the Lakers had the same thing to say afterwards. Like, yeah, that's right. That's what they said. Basically, it's like beating your head against a brick wall. Now, look, you don't have Luka. We can sit here and talk about it all day, all you want to. What that would look like, we'll never know. We'll never know. And one of the things that great teams, teams that want to win a championship or contend, have to do is have their guys ready and healthy when these series take place. And against this defense, you needed Luka Doncic. You didn't have. So we don't know what would have happened. But the Lakers had runs. Every one of these games, like, they had runs where, like, they start playing well, and it looks like, hey, man, this could get really interesting. And it's amazing the way Oklahoma City is able to flip the script right when they have to change the narrative in the game. And eventually, look, I get the sense out of them, do you, that they won a championship last year, and that's great. Now they want to go into rarefied territory, right, which is a repeat champion. I'm sure they got, they want to win, who knows how many in a row, but, like, start with repeat. That puts you in a different category than an NBA champion when you repeat. But I don't think they just want to repeat. I think they want to they want to win every game. Like, they want to.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. They
want
to,
like,
lose
do
motivation.
something special in the process, because they really don't go through stretches. And if they do, it's very short in a game where they get a little sloppy, or they get a little careless, or they don't contest a couple of shots in a row.
Almost
it's amazing
never.
But even if they do, it's so short-lived.
Yeah.
It's so fast to get it back on track. And it's not even because Dagnall called timeout and reamed them. It's because collectively they all look at each other and go, this isn't our standard. Let's go. And it's amazing how they just squeeze the hope out of a team that is playing well for a stretch in a game.
They're really impressive, man. And I like your point. They haven't lost yet. And it does feel like last year, 2 Game 7s, that was the one. They even talked about this afterwards of, like, yeah, we won and we're happy with that. The winner's the winner, but it was close, and we don't want it to be close. So far, they're following it up 8-0 in the playoffs. And like I said, man, if you're the Lakers, you walk away from this one going, hey, man, that was an A-plus job. Truly, I mean this. The Lakers did an A-plus job in that 4-game series, 3 of which were blowouts or not very close, 1 of which was. But the Thunder are just that good, man. So I was impressed with them. And then lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring him up. AJ Mitchell, star? This guy he's been great all year for them. When healthy, he's been great. But this playoffs, it's a whole different level. And some of this is they're doing what everybody's doing to Anthony Edwards. We're going to try to trap Shea, get the ball out of his hands. Who else goes? AJ Mitchell can get around his guy and just and complete the play. He looks like a veteran player, but more than a point legs. I like this guy who's my guy coming in, as in like, ooh, sleeping on this guy or whatever. But he might be an all-star caliber player the way he's playing right now. Just how good can he be?
So I say the same thing about him. Maybe not. I don't have quite the ceiling that I put like on a guy like Dylan Harper.
Yeah, it's true.
I do think that AJ Mitchell absolutely can be a starting point guard on anywhere from good to contending team. And I think that's where his career is headed. Some point now, you got Jalen Williams coming back to the mix with this team, next season or whenever he makes his return this year, next year, whenever it may be. He's an all-star. So, AJ Mitchell, you're looking at this guy and you're going, at what point does that break happen? It might not be in Oklahoma City because of how young their guards are. Maybe it's somewhere else down the road. I don't know. You can't pay everybody. They just gave a ton of money to their top 3 players. So you can't pay everybody. At some point, AJ Mitchell will have the ball on his hip running his team, and it's going to feel like his team. I really believe that. Now, I don't know if that means the best player on a team to contend. Maybe he's got to be with a couple other guys that are on that level too, but he absolutely is a top-tier eventual starting point guard on a really quality team in this league. There's no doubt. He's that good. Harper, I would put like one category above that. Like this guy could end up maybe being the best player on a contending team at some point down the road. Or if he spends the next 10, 12 years with Victor Wembanyama, we may never know it because he's always going to be with him. He's going to do a hell of a lot of winning, and he's going to make all-star teams and all-league teams, all that. But he won't be regarded as the best player on his team if he stays where he's at. So we'll see what happens with those guys going forward. But it's 2 great, young, talented guards that are multi-dimensional offensive players.
No, Harper and Wemby, we might have a Kobe and Shaq situation, where we're just like Wemby is Wemby. You can't, it is, but then you have this other guy that's like might be even better than he's ever going to be able to show together because of just how dominant the 2 of them are. Let's go to our super chats. What do we have here? Psycho Blue with actually AJ Mitchell, Adam's guy, future max contract player from J Money. It is true, man. This is a really hot one of all of our guys. This one, I feel good about, man. AJ,
yeah, he could be a max guy down the road. I agree. That's possible.
What's he making? $3 million a year right now? Unbelievable. What else do they
got?
By
the way, I want to answer something. One of the comments said, "Didn't we say the same thing about Case Wallace last year?" No, we did not. We never said this about Case Wallace. Case Wallace is a really good player. Case Wallace is an elite defender. Yeah, we never said these kind of things about Case Wallace because he doesn't have that level of offense.
For Dylan Harper, you're saying?
No, I think they were talking
to AJ Mitchell.
I think it's Mitchell. I think this comment is saying that the same thing was said about Case and Wallace last year that we're saying now about AJ Mitchell. Now I just don't think that's true. I don't think anybody had Case and Wallace with the same offensive upside as AJ Mitchell.
And some of this is just role. It's about the offense of AJ Mitchell that is like playoff.
Look, AJ Mitchell jumped on an opportunity too, Adam. Look, there were injuries. It opened up the door for playing time. And I don't think going into the season, I don't think that this organization expected to see this out of AJ Mitchell because they didn't know where the opportunity was going to come. Well, injuries open the door for it. Yep. And that's what you have to do. When you're in that age range, man, you get an opportunity and the games are so high profile, jump on it and you're set. You're good to go now. And AJ Mitchell's career arc completely changed this year.
Johnny Keene asks, hey guys, do you think LeBron will leave LA? I mean, I don't really have like insight onto this, but I would just say I think so. I mean, it seems like he will. He still can play at a high level, man. I think that there's a lot of value to him, but I would guess it's not in LA. You have a take on this?
I really don't know, man. I'm not even going to pretend to know or pretend to guess or predict it. I have absolutely no idea what LeBron James is going to do. I do know this. He is still plays at a level that you would consider him a great player in this league, which is just mind blowing at 41. What he's already done, just have the motivation to do it this long. First of all, and one of these off seasons, man, the season's going to end, and he's going to wait a few weeks, and he's not going to want to go do what he's had to do physically to look like this. So, and that will be when it happens, but I don't think it's going to be this summer. But I don't know what he does as far as teams.
And a somber one here to end out with Psycho Blue, who says, RIP Brandon Clark, highly underrated big who never reached his ceiling. Grizzlies need to do something about their issue with player health, physical and mental. I do hate this story. Jason Collins also passed away. But this Brandon Clark one, man, it's really sad news. I liked him as well. Like the type of player I love, a high-level role player that does everything. And, you know, I hated this one. I don't know if you have any thoughts on
tragic
it.
Tragic and no, just tragic. I'm just shocked, saddened, getting the news about both of them. Obviously, Jason Collins battled brain cancer for a long time. And I knew him a little bit. I didn't really know Brandon Clark, just covered him. You know, was a impactful player for them and an elite athlete, dealt with a lot of injuries. And it just goes to show you, we were texting amongst the NBA kind of brethren yesterday, community that taking in this shocking news about Clark. And it's just like, you just never know. So remember this, keep this in mind. You never know what people are going through.
Yeah.
So be kind, because you don't know what someone's dealing with or coping with or whatever it might be at the time. So yeah, it's a very, very sad day for the league. I think they're going to be recognized with a moment of silence tonight. They were yesterday. They will be tonight at our game as well.
We'll cue that outro music there, Atticus. I do want to remind everybody, we just had our Darren Peterson 5-minute scouting report. You can spend 5 minutes a day, and by the end of the month, you'll have the entire lottery scouted, which is great, because who wants to spend more than 5 minutes on it? These are great. You got Boozer, you got Peterson, and now DeBanza. Go check all of those out on our channel. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button, share them with your friends, and everybody, we'll be back on Friday. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.